Let's take a look at an example to see how the derecognition of non-financial assets changed as a result of ASU 2017-5. Schifrin owns 100% of Vaughn, a consolidated subsidiary. Vaughn holds title to land with a carrying amount of $5 million. Schifrin concludes that the land is not an output of its ordinary activities within the scope of Topic 606, and that Vaughn does not meet the new definition of a business. Schifrin enters into a contract to transfer 60% of Vaughn to Mancuso for $6 million cash, which is due at contract inception. After the transaction, Mancuso has a controlling financial interest in Vaughn with its 60% ownership. Assume that the fair value of the 40% interest retained by Schifrin is $4 million. How much gain, if any, should Schifrin record as a result of this transaction? Under the previous guidance contained within ASC subtopic 360-20 related to sales of real estate, entities were required to defer gains when certain indicators were present. Even if these two indicators were not present, this guidance generally required partial gain recognition because any non-controlling interest retained by the seller would be measured on a carryover basis. ASU 2017-5 eliminates subtopic 360-20. As a result, sales and partial sales of real estate assets will now be subject to the same derecognition model as all other non-financial assets found within ASC subtopic 610-20. This guidance requires entities to apply certain recognition and measurement principles found within ASC topic 606 when they derecognize non-financial assets, even when the counterparty is not a customer. Under ASU 2017-5, an entity that transfers a non-financial asset to a customer follows the following steps to determine whether to derecognize the asset. First, the seller evaluates whether or not it has a controlling financial interest in the buyer using the guidance found within ASC topic 810. If yes, then the entity does not derecognize the asset. However, if the seller does not have a controlling financial interest, then it must evaluate whether a contract exists and whether the buyer has obtained control of the non-financial asset that was sold in accordance with the principles within ASC topic 606. Let's look back at our example to see this guidance in action. In our example, Schifrin concludes that it no longer has a controlling financial interest in Vaughn, as it has only retained a 40% interest. Furthermore, it does not have a controlling financial interest in Mancuso, the buyer. As such, Schifrin moves on to Step 2. In Step 2, an entity must evaluate whether a contract exists using the criteria found within ASC topic 606. These criteria are being listed on the screen. In our example, Schifrin determines that the contract meets these criteria. Step 2 also requires an entity to determine whether the buyer obtained control over the non-financial asset that was sold. Because Schifrin continues to have a non-controlling interest in Vaughn, Schifrin evaluates the point in time at which Vaughn, its former subsidiary, has control of the distinct financial asset. Therefore, Schifrin will use the control transfer criteria found within ASC topic 606 related to performance obligations satisfied at a point in time. Schifrin concludes that it has transferred control of the distinct financial asset because Vaughn controls the distinct financial asset. The ASU requires the seller to recognize full gain or loss when these derecognition criteria are met. The gain or loss is calculated as the difference between the consideration received and the carrying amount of the asset sold. Schifrin derecognizes the land and its controlling financial interest in Vaughn and calculates the gain or loss as follows. The amount of consideration is $10 million, which includes $6 million in cash, plus the $4 million related to the fair value of the non-controlling interest in Vaughn. The carrying value of the land was $5 million. As a result, Schifrin recognizes a gain of $5 million. Schifrin will also record the non-controlling interest in Vaughn at $4 million and subsequently account for that interest, most likely in accordance with ASC topic 323 as an equity method investee.